How many books did R.L. Stine wrote? At least 32. Nice. I knew it. I'm on to you, Stein. I know you only made 32 books according to Google. Why would Google ever lie? You didn't even make any of those books you've claimed you've worked for a long time. I'm on to you. But in all seriousness, folks, welcome back to part 3 to the Goosebumps HorrorTown Shop Till You Drop Dead. Now, this whole gag in the beginning was something humorous I ended up trying to look at curiously because some people were suggesting that this was a thing, and it is. If you were to type in how many books R.L. Stine wrote, and yes, I know the gag I spelled wrote wrong. Don't quack on me, I know. But yeah, if you do that, that answer comes up. I don't know who answered that and put that there. At least 32. Like, at least they know guarantee 32 books, but yeah. And the reason I bring this up is because there's been this controversy way long, or this conspiracy that R.L. didn't write all the books, but he had ghostwriters on there. It's neither here nor hearsay, but you don't care about that. You care about what we're going to do in part 3. Well, in part 3, we're going to finish off Chris's story. And if you remember last time, I mentioned that it was based on a recent movie that came out. And you'll see exactly why when you start seeing some things here. I won't mention it too much right now, but it will be coming very soon. One last thing, too, before we continue. We won't be finishing off the main stories here, but the next part 4 is going to be the longest because it's going to have the review and all that stuff, but it also is going to talk about some of the problems. I mentioned them in part 2 a little bit, but you're going to see a really big grind when it comes to this. So with that in mind, let's just dive right into this story. So we're back into Chris, and we already had our thing down, so let's just see what he has to say.
Man, I'm out of my ear with the holidays fast approaching. What they did to me was unfair. It was the fault of those kids. Oh well, more time for my music career. But even playing the bass feels empty now. Maybe a motorcycle ride can clear my head.
Yeah, you say that, man, but I don't believe it.
The more I think about it, the more the whole thing stinks. The spirit of Christmas? Ha! It's a joke. Christmas is nothing more than a rite of crass commercialism. In my Santa costume, my job was just selling more toys to make money for the boss. I wish I could find a way to strike back at the system.
Bro, find a new hobby, place a snowman down, so that won't be too hard. Yeah. It's starting to get very uncomfortable with Chris, and yeah, you'll see, you're kind of maybe getting where I'm going with this, but it's going to be obvious after we're done with his part. But I think in this part 2 is when the story for, we start to see the actual monster of Reggie come forth. We already know he's a monster, but I try to do his voice acting a little bit interesting when it comes to his like, you can't really do a transformation of sorts, but I did something interesting when it comes to changing a voice, so we're gonna see how well that does, and you can let me know from there. Right, so you should be done with that. Now then, have him do that, and he's gonna go into his abode. It's a very interesting looking building, I have to say, for Claus, or Chris. He calls him, they just call him Claus or Santa Claus, but, you know, his name's Chris something. Oh, God. Well, during the holidays, it was interesting in my end. A lot of, stuff happened. And I'm currently in this predicament now when it comes to a certain update. It's a small little update. And, for the January thing, New Year's thing, And it's not much content in there. Now, mind you, there is a dialogue and story, but for the life of me, I couldn't be bothered to do it. But I'm gonna try my best, but when we get to there, I will talk about that. But after we click on Courtney here, will be the finishing off of the conclusion.
Kid-eating monsters? But this whole town's full of monsters. What makes these monsters special?
Well, the mall gargoyles can turn you into stone if their saliva touches you. So my father's only looking out for you all.
Still, that's not a very good reason to...
Anywho, hope you all have fun with this scavenger hunt, kids. Remember to trade in your items at the Make a Monster. Oh, and one more thing. If anyone were to disobey the rules and enter the mall, they will have to deal with the unforeseen
consequences.
Oh, spooky. Oh, man. Uh-oh. You can tell right away when I try to do there is just kind of like, huh, that's kind of weird. The voice, it wasn't added touch to these videos.
As the children go hunting and scurrying, Courtney King arrives home and starts worrying.
Mom? Dad? Anyone home? Strange. They always leave a note when they're not in the house. Come to think of it, I can't see anybody outside. Or home, for that matter. It's like the ghost town. Without the ghost. Oh, wait. There goes Megan. Maybe she knows what's going on. Hey, Megan! Can't talk. Must get money. Must buy new clothes. Okay, that was weird. She never acted like that before. But she did drop this. Mayfield's Bazaar. Perhaps that's where everyone is.
Place some holiday street lamps, obtain some candy canes, and gingerbread monsters. And yes, this is where Courtney King comes into the story. I wanted to have Courtney King come back in the narrative just so there's a, because when we learned with the You Can't Scare Me bit is that she joined the Many Mysteries Club, and I figured we needed a character that kind of figures stuff out, and I thought, Courtney looks like the type of character that would be able to do that right away. And yeah, 150 for this holiday street lamp. It's actually not a bad design. It's a little bit crooked. I wanted to make it look a little spooky, and I think they did a good job to make it. My whole point of these designs is to fit with the event, but also kind of give a nice like holiday / kind of goosebumpy creepy look to them. Oh, and by the way, this is where the interesting dialogue stuff comes in when it comes to good old Chris. So, ooh, here we go.
Christmas is a commercial facade dressed up as tradition. I'm not falling for it anymore. Normal people sleepwalk through it like zombies, buying presents, following the preset rules. But now that I'm outside the system, everything is clear. I understand what Christmas is all about. It's about money, ego, and ambition. But what about me? Where's my ambitions right now? Why should I become Santa? I'm better than Santa. Santa should become me.
God. We got a Joker here. Oh no.
I'm just a nice guy that's been pushed around too much by this world. If the world thinks I'm a bad person, then I might as well become one. I may as well go all out. I'll go berserk on this world. For real. I'll show them horror. I'll show them all how real Santa is.
Spawn is from the old tavern, get some ectoplasm, and do the Jingle Bell Rock. Yep. This is strangely familiar with the good old Joker that came out. And especially near the ending scene. I'm not going to say anything, but... oh boy! It's awfully familiar, isn't it? Ooh. When I played through this again after watching it, I'm just like, wait a minute, they did this before! Oh my god, the Joker stole the dialogue thing from this game. Man, You thought the Walking Phoenix did a good job with that, but nah, he's a Goosebumps fan. I'm just joking, but I find it very humorous that the story dialogue with Chris kind of snapping there is awfully kind of not 100% similar to the movie Joker, but it has similar themes that you can go, oh, you can switch these characters around and it would still kind of be the same. But Joker is a little bit more adult and has more topics and adult situations going on, but you know what I'm trying to say. So let's just go with that. Yeah, good old Chris. I feel bad for him, so you can see why I decided to do the dialogue there. Right. So, part of these quests here, originally I wanted to do something for Chris where he would go back to being the Santa Claus from before. He learned his lesson, he didn't want to be mad, he wanted to try to do redemption. And the idea was that he would go and actually hire from the kid, Mayfield. And originally when this was going on, the idea I had was Mayfield, the Reggie, would hire him because he's like, oh, you've had experience advertising before, so okay, you're hired. You just advertise for the store. And then at some point he would do, okay, I'll get up with my Santa Claus outfit and do the same thing again. And this is when Reggie looked and he's outside and he's just like, what is that guy doing outside? And he's like, hey, what are you doing in my property? And then he's like, wait, I'm Chris, the guy you hired. And he's like, oh, had I known you were going to dress up like this, I would have, this wouldn't have been awkward. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, you're fired. And then this would be him kind of doing the Jingle Bell Rock thing. Like, it would lead into that where, you know, he wanted to combine both the idea of him being Santa Claus, but also his passion for rock and roll. Anyways, here's this story.
There's that Mayfield kid. With his persuasion ways and my brilliant scheming, I'll gain control of this town. Mr. Mayfield Jr., so glad you could make it.
Let's cut to the chase. You mentioned a thrilling business opportunity. Well, I'm all ears.
Oh, you won't regret this. Everyone will be spellbound by your mall.
Oh, great. Look who it's Mr. Wood back again. That puppet's ideas are pretty twisted. But I must admit, I like them. Now, where's a set-up shop? I think the only half-decent place around here is that Promenade. Oh, there's the mayor now. Time to put the good old Mayfield charm to work. Obtain vampire dolls, make it rain, and obtain werewolf, or the were-teddies, not the werewolf teddies, the were-teddies. Yeah, so this is the explanation of why the Promenade was there. It's like, well, Reggie would look at your town and say, oh, what is this garbage? And he's like, well, the untouched area is the Promenade, so that's where I'm going to go here. And one thing I will say with the designers is I love what they did with the Promenade by actually converting it and merging it with the roads. And it was funny with the last update we did, which was the Squeezers update, where I set the road up in a way that it actually ended up connecting to the roads in the Promenade. I will show something off when it came to the Promenade, because although, yes, you could take these roads off, something will end up happening, and I do that near the end of the next part here coming up. And one of the things I liked about this design, oh yeah, here's the inflatable Christmas. You get the inflatable Blastowipes, and holy, what's this? We got a bunch of the investigation files, all this stuff. Huh, what's that? You telling me that I can actually buy a design of an item without having to use event-specific things? Oh man, is this? It must. Oh, I must be dreaming. This is probably the best feature ever. I'm not gonna overhype it, but when I saw that, I was really excited to see, because this was finally gonna solve a problem that I have not been doing. Like, have you noticed for a few parts now? I think ever since August, I didn't really bother so much when it comes to these mini events. Now that's no longer the case, because now it's like, oh, here you go. Have this here. So I do love that they give you this opportunity to be able to get these characters. So in this clip here, I'm going to be basically showing off the characters in particular that is going to be able to assist me with this. For Mr. Fleshman, it'll be easy because I'll be able to get the cockroaches very quickly. I think, yeah, it's cockroaches, not the roaches, or I don't know. Blurry vision when I'm watching the playback here. Yeah, the inflatable gargoyle. Not the inflatable gargoyle. That was another idea I wanted to add in. I was just like, well, if they can't really do any new designs, then you can just reuse the inflatable gargoyle that you've made previously and be like, well, there was a gargoyle setting in the book, so I guess you can do that, but ended up not doing that. Unfortunately, didn't get the thing I need in order to complete the quest. But one of the things I liked about the Promenade, because they added the roads there, the characters are now walking in the Promenade, whereas before, characters will, unless there was a task there, characters would not interact with the Promenade. It's just like this mysterious thing that is forever bound from people, not to be able to touch it, you know? And that was one of the things there. Speaking of the designs and stuff like that, I have still been kept in touch with the contact ever since this thing happened, and I've now kind of gotten myself in touch with, I believe there's a new guy now who's doing these events now, because there's a designer they've hired now, and I've still stayed in touch because they, after doing this, they're like, well, we need to pick his brain a bit, we need to do some stuff, so, January and February I won't have any involvement, but that might change when it comes into March and whatever. Not to design everything, but probably some inspirations I might have given to this the development team, but we'll just have to wait and see.
This mall. Empty lots. Inflatable gargoyles. Mannequins wearing last year's clothing. I'm getting a bad feeling.
Welcome to Mayfield's Bazaar. We have a sale on special notebooks that come with invisible ink for those keeping secrets. Is the lady interested?
That does sound like a bargain. Maybe I could... Wait, no! I'm sorry, but I've gotta go.
Oh. Well, thank you for stopping by. There's more to that kid's leads on. I better keep an eye out, just in case she returns. That's why I kind of used Courtney in this, because I think she fitted that role well.
Doesn't anyone find it weird that the items we have to carry are all Christmas related? Candy canes, wreaths, Santa bags?
Who cares? It's making so much easier to get those cool toys that the guy's offering us.
My point exactly, Dustin. I don't know. This whole thing just doesn't add up. Psst. Lucy, over here. Courtney? What are you doing hiding over there? Listen, I need your help. I just came back in the mall and...
And what? What? Do research for Christmas and obtain vampire dolls and then place the tree for sale, whichever they did. But, see, why did you leave it off on the cliffhanger? Yeah, it's just like the Goosebumps books. You just end it on a cliffhanger, and by the time you get to the next chapter, it's like, oh. Yeah, but I wanted to use Courtney as the main crutch of being the character that is able to resist the urge just because of, I guess, her growing up demeanor, because she's a girl who's not afraid of anything. She's more, I guess, avoidant of being able to be under the influence of commercialism. But if you went with Reggie's path of the Rise of the Krampus questline, by the way, I love the fact that what they called that name, Rise of the Krampus. It's like, yeah, they were really going with the Krampus theme here. And yes, part of the inspiration for this was a little bit of Krampus, but that wasn't my full intent. It just led it into having some elements of it. Krampus as a movie is very interesting because I was familiar with the Krampus lore, and then it came out, I think, a few years ago. and it was done by the guy who did Trick or Treats. And what's funny about it was he designed it in a way to be like the Gremlins, where it's like, it's not the horror movie to be taken seriously, because there were some elements where people got in there and they're like, oh, this is a horror movie. And then they go, oh, this isn't like, this is funny. Whereas Gremlins was quite the opposite. Ooh, that was a Christmas story. Ooh.
You've all been bad. Bad people. Take this coal and shove it down your throats.
Oh, hey, Chris, what's up?
I am not Chris. I am Santa Claus, and I will take you down, just like I was taken down.
Ah, it's the crazy Santa. Run!
Even I'm scared of him now. Ugh!
Chris has finally snapped, and now no one can stop him.
And just like that, Chris will never be talked about again. The story just ends like that, and it's quite humorous to say the least. Oh boy. You gotta love that. But yeah, the Gremlins, the whole poor grandma. Rest in peace. And this will be the next part of the questline here. And that is why Mayfield's Bazaar would make your town an ideal tourist attraction. It will also provide this town some much-needed funds.
I'm not sure. I did promise the kids that we would be doing Mr. Piccolo's Christmas play this year.
What if I throw in a fun scavenger hunt for them to partake in while the adults do their shopping? At no extra cost.
You do drive a hard bargain, but it's a deal.
Poor Mr. Piccolo. I'm so sorry to hear that we won't be seeing his ghoulish play this year.
Mr. Piccolo? Whoa, who is this character we've mentioned, Mr. Piccolo? Well, remember when I said that we would mention a little bit of an event that could have been in this game? Well, that was a little nod to that, but if you couldn't get the Easter egg with that, don't worry. There's something that's going to come right up front with this next dialogue quest for the Rise of the Krampus. Don't believe me? Well, let's see for it ourselves, shall we? I'll have the mannequins and inflatable gargoyles set up for the mall's grand opening. The mayor of this town was too easy to trick into having the mall place here. What was the play they were going to do anyways? The 12 Screams of Christmas. Sounds like a boring play with a bunch of morals and holiday crud in it. Now don't get me wrong. I don't outright hate Christmas. After all, it's the most profitable time of the year for us. In fact, there's one
teeny tiny Christmas tradition I do find quite meaningful. Opening presents.
Opening up the beastly presents, the best animation, obtain the big refund, and obtain haunting shopping gifts. Now I'm going to hold off on this quest line because I'm going to wait until the end of a certain quest to be able to do the obtain the gifts. The reason why is because it will help me, because you're going to have to craft some of the gifts anyways to obtain the main quest line. But yes, this is a reference to 12 Screams of Christmas, a very bizarre book, and when I read the book, I was like, what is this? And the idea behind it was so dumb. Why, it's a 12 Screams of Christmas, because you had to scream in the well 12 times. It's like, what is this? Oh, God. Yeah, the only Christmas book, official Christmas book, if you don't count the short stories. And it's probably one of the worst things I've read. I have no idea what was going on and why it happened, but there you go. Oh my goodness. One thing I will mention, though, during this part is you might have noticed my voice kind of shifting. I wanted to be able to do that. It'll be more present when it comes to later on. You'll find out why. Ooh, I had the gag reflex there happening. I don't know what the hell happened. Oh. Ooh, food didn't go down well. I'm okay though. I think I got it. Yeah, so I avoided heartburn. Hooray. That was bizarre. That never happened to me before. But yeah, one thing I wanted to share with you during that quest line was the fact that we got to see a bit of Reggie's monster form, but we also got to see a bit of something else. We got to look at Reggie's vice, his Achilles heel, as it were. The idea behind the fact that his whole character, because he is such a brat, and he's a spoiled brat, he always loves the idea of opening gifts. It doesn't matter what it is, it can be the worst thing ever, but he just loves opening the presents and boxes. Keep this in mind, because this will come in handy when it comes to later on in the quest. You'll see why that's going to be the case. But yeah, anyways, we're done with this, so let's see what happens next after we do this.
So that's why there hasn't been any adults around lately. I knew something was up with that Reggie guy.
What's even worse,
When I arrived at the mall, I felt like I was being hypnotized to go in. This is serious. Okay, Courtney, I'll try to help you figure out what's going on. Dustin, are you coming?
no way! I'm gonna go play with my newest acquired toys, especially this butt-kicking backpack.
Wait, Dustin?
Butt-kicking backpack? Oh no, I hope that doesn't come and kick him in the butt. Puns indeed, but oh man, the backpack. Oh, the backpack.
Okay now, all we have to do is just close enough for the mall and... Hey, is that Marty?
Hey, Mayfield, I demand some answers right now!
What is going on? Didn't I tell you that...
Cut it there, rich boy. I demand to know why you lied to us. I don't see no monsters around here.
Oh, I don't think you've looked hard enough, silly boy. Here, let me help you adjust.
Your vision. Now get out of my mall!
Ooh. Play the Mayfield's Bazaar scene, obtain some rare teddies, and place the mistletoe garden swing. Oh, this is where Reggie finally shows himself, and both Courtney and Lucy gets to see what Reggie really is. And unfortunately, Marty gets tagged along in here because, of course, he is. He's a stubborn kid. He's the bully type. He's the comic relief of the story, as you'll soon see in part 4. But yes, this has got to be one of the interesting parts to this whole lore thing. And what makes this interesting too is the idea. What I tried to do with the story was try to get everything kind of making sense and relate to one another, and all that kind of things there. One thing I forgot to mention, I might mention this when I get the prize. You know what? No, I'm gonna mention it during my grand prize because I figure that will be where it makes the most sense. I'll save that for now. Hopefully I don't forget it, because don't you hate it when I say something like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do this next time" when the thing comes out, and then it's like, "Oh wait, no, never mind there." What's weird too is that usually when it comes to stuff like this, things happen in the real world, some news, stuff like that, and then you kind of go ahead and try to talk about it to try to keep it entertained. But I feel like the problem is, and this is something, I watched the clip from RL's masterclass thing, and he said the one thing you should never do when it comes to story writing is ever relate to anything that makes your books dated. And the reason he says that is because he did a book that he regrets to this day. I think it was one of the Fear Streets, where the kids were excited to go to Rick Barkley's, not Rick Barkley, but the Rick and Roll guy, concert. And he's like, who is this guy? Right? Because, he's no longer a big thing now, like he was back in the day. So his whole thing was, if you want this book to be timeless, you're going to have things that were not set as a event specific. That's why things like the the scary movie, or the movie franchise, quote unquote, you know, the ones like Scary Movie, Date Movie, that type of thing, they worked at that time period because it was referencing jokes during that time. But if you would watch it now, it's like, what were they making fun of? I don't get it, right? Like, they would have this thing where a gag comes in and you're like, what is this? And unless you've actually experienced the stupid commercials that pop up during that time, you would not know what they were referencing. And I think that was what they're going with here. And I'm going to try to follow this through with these videos. So I'm not going to say, oh, what happened during today. Like, I know this is now in January, so usually these videos come in like, oh, it's supposed to be like for Christmas, for December, to get you in the mood for Santa Claus and all that holiday stuff and holiday depressing Christmas music. But, yeah, I can't really say. I kind of want to, though. Because there was something that happened. Alright, so this is 2020, so screw it. Yeah. You know what? No, I'm not gonna do it. It's Smash related. It's the roster. The final character got revealed, and, oh boy. I can see why a lot of people weren't happy. But hey, good news, there's more to come, so, yeah. Anyways, screw that. Let's go back to this game. It sounds like one stuff. I'm kind of intrigued to see what this game leads into. From what I understand, from what I think might be going on, there are suggestions to say that there are some really interesting ideas that might be coming down the road. In sense of the fact that there is ideas popping to and fro. One thing I've noticed as of late is that they usually would put these teasers out, like the October thing going into November thing. That was interesting to see with the eggs, and it relates to this one. Now, I believe January doesn't have a big update. In fact, the website's not even acknowledging that it's a thing, because it's just a short little update with like a few things to kind of keep you busy. But I'm kind of... Normally, I'm used to... Like, I got... after a few months of doing this, I'm used to this whole... I can't wait for the next update to be another event, so I know how long until the next update comes in. But I'm kind of okay with this standstill going on here, only because of the fact that there is... this gives you more of an opportunity for them to actually iron out the actual economy stuff. I think the reason why the events were kind of iffy on a few occasions is because of the limit of a time they were able to work on these certain things and the circumstances that I mentioned before. But yeah, there's that. One last, there's the coal I got left. The coal is going to be a pain because of, like I mentioned before, the drop rates were not the greatest. And I'm going to end this part with getting the abandoned gingerbread house, which is the last supplier to this update. And some of these items were actually based off of real things. Oh wait, probably it's not the end yet because there's more to come. I thought this would be the over, but nope. Nope, I didn't end this. Apologies. Yeah, but this was kind of based off of an actual building here that actually existed. Yeah, so get a close-up. If you ever looked at an abandoned Santa village, you probably would notice this building. Yeah, I think they did a good job actually making it look kind of creepier. So, yeah, good on them. So anyways, yeah, we got the Claus giveaway. You miss it, you weep it. Only until Christmas Eve. And spoiler alert, that thing was probably there for the whole thing. Oh, that's right. We're going to end it with getting the inflatable gorilla. The Blastoape. Yes, we're going to put him right here. These were those joke inflatable advertising for sale signs you've seen all over the place. So I just kind of did that, but I was just like, you know what, no, let's just design it with the gorilla that is official, which is this Blastoape thing, apparently from the book that I mentioned before. I think he'd fit here pretty well. He's a nice shape, and he kind of is he's going to advertise for Otto's odds and ends. And with that, the whole thing is done and over with there. Now what's bugging me is that I've just was speaking about something, and then that whole abandonment thing came up, and now I've completely forgot about it. So I'm gonna try to listen in and figure out where I left off. And once I figure it out, by the part 4, the last part, I'll be like, oh, I remember what it was. But yeah, I think I'm gonna end it here. I think it's long enough now. So, you know, the usual stuff you've seen me before. And the next part will be the last part where we take and reveal, and not reveal, but we're finishing off everything and all that good stuff. It is going to be a longer part, but I think it's going to be well worth it. And the ending will have the ending of the and at the end, we're going to be doing the review for this update, so keep a lookout for that. It's going to be short, and there's a reason why I'm doing the review of this part here, because it's going to be, like I mentioned before, the Please Don't Feed the Vampire event type of deal, where I'm just going to be talking about it, show you my cue card, and then all that. So it's not going to be fancy stuff, only because I had influence, and then I'll talk more about that when I get to there. And with that, I've been Grim, and I'll be seeing you next time. Unfortunately, I don't have anything funny to say, so I'm just going to end it right now. Can't wait.